Hey, classmates, this is Kate.
Hey guys, this is Brett, and welcome back to week 66 of Hard Lessons True Crime Podcast. Actually, episode 66. We'll do it weekly.
Right.
So,
I just keep thinking that we're on 69 for some reason.
sometime in June,
Okay.
we'll hit 69.
Alrighty.
Allegedly.
Yes. I don't know. Last week I thought it was 60. This week I thought it was 69. So when you said 66, I'm like, wait, what?
Yes, ma'am. Yep. So just as a reminder right off top, after this week's episode, we're going to take the month of May off. We're going to celebrate Teach's hard work and getting her master's degree, Sam's hard work at getting out of high school, going to go move our kids back, make a couple of trips down to Central Texas, may even pop in and say hey to Aliqua from Nosy Nancy's podcast.
Yeah.
We're trying to pencil that one in, but anyhow, Teach, how was your week?
It's the in-between times of I've got this work done. I'm just waiting for the other half to get going so I can get it done. So it's the in-between period of have things to do, but yet you have to wait. Mm-hmm. So it's like
a lot of sit around waiting going on.
Yes, and a lot of novel studies happening. So I can't read it for them.
Can't force them to read.
No, and so yeah.
Everybody was getting summeritis pretty quick.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Not just the students.
Not just the students. Like, okay, we've got three Mondays, I think, to go.
Nice.
Yeah. Right now I'm going to count it just to make sure. Because 1, 2, 3.
Oh, sounds easy when you put it that way, huh?
Mm-hmm. When you say days instead of like weeks or months, it's way better.
Sure. I get it. Well, are you ready to get into this?
I am. Class is in session.
I'm going to practice on that during our break.
Okay.
I did a little better this week, but I'm going to practice that.
Awesome.
The more you know.
Yes.
You've been pregnant, right?
At least once, yes. Actually, twice.
Do you know the name Beulah Hunter?
No.
She holds the record for the longest pregnancy.
Okay.
In 1945, she was 25 years old, lived in Los Angeles, and she was pregnant for 375 days. A normal pregnancy is 280.
I'm like wondering, was the baby okay?
She gave birth to a healthy 6-pound, 15-ounce girl. So that explains a lot because girls are never ready on time.
I think somebody miscalculated.
That might have been one of the theories that they floated around in the article I read about this. Said that the reporter asked the doctor, could she have maybe been pregnant with twins, and then one of the twins died, and that stalled the gestation period for the other one. He said, no, that's impossible. But he said she was pregnant the entire 375. I mean, this was her doctor, the entire 375 days.
Huh.
Baby was born at Los Angeles Methodist Hospital and was healthy and thrived.
I just don't believe that.
I didn't read it in the National Enquirer.
I'm just saying that I don't believe that.
Right.
But, no, I don't know stuff from 1945.
Our parents wasn't even born yet.
My mom was.
Oh, was she? I thought she was 46 like my parents.
No, that's my dad.
Okay. Okay. Let's get into this week's international true crime case.
All right.
I'm going to start off with a quote.
Okay.
From a certain age, either 13 or 14, I always had the feelings of no longer having any control over what I was doing. I prayed and I hoped at least that it would be something good, but it didn't turn out that way.
Mm-hmm. So
this week we are talking about German serial killer Jurgen Bartsch, Bartsch.
Okay.
Otherwise known as the Carnival Killer.
Ugh. Did he dress up like a clown? Okay, good.
But he's just as evil. He was born Karl Heinz Sadarzinski on November 6th, 1946.
Okay.
He passed away, spoiler alert, April 28th, 1976.
Oh, wow.
So, hey, today's his death anniversary.
Yeah, it is.
When this episode comes out.
That's cool.
Yeah. He was born out of wedlock, which, back in that time was frowned upon, but still happened.
It did.
And his mother, when he was 5 months old, passed away with tuberculosis.
Oh, no.
So young Carl, as he was known at the time, spent the first 11 months of his life in a foundling home.
Oh, that's sad.
So I'm going to teach you a little bit of German now.
Okay.
The foundling home was called Baby Klappe.
Okay.
Klappe.
Clump.
Clamp. Side note. Anyway, that in English that translates to baby hatch.
Okay. Baby hatchlings.
Yeah. So side note, growing up there was a German couple here in town. He was a doctor, but he wasn't a medical doctor. So I don't know what he was a doctor of, but Dr. Otto Specht. And in high school, I worked at a department store. And he came in one time and I said, "Good afternoon, Dr. Specht. How are you doing?" And he said, "You Americans, y'all are so lazy. The German language, we pronounce every letter. It's Specht." So I'm probably going to mess this up.
CHT in there.
Yeah, it was spelled Specht.
Oh, my bad.
Specht.
Specht.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's my German lesson for you for the day.
There you go. Well, thank you.
A foundling home, to give you and the listeners a definition, was a safe, secure, and anonymous location where parents could leave newborns without any repercussions. It was usually a hospital or a church, something like that. The parents could leave them there for a certain amount of time, a certain set period of time, and then they could either come back and pick them up without repercussions, or the child would be put up for adoption.
Okay.
And so since Carl's mom passed away, nobody knew who the dad was. He was adopted.
Nobody knew who the grandparents would have been.
Right. He was adopted out.
Okay.
So in October of 1947, baby Carl was adopted by Gerhard and Gertrude Bartsch.
Bartsch.
Gerhard owned a butcher shop, which is foreboding.
Yes. Like somebody learned some skills.
Right. And Gertrude was a homemaker.
Okay.
And this is when they changed Carl's name to Jurgen Bartsch.
Bartsch. Bartsch.
Bartsch. Bartsch.
Bartsch.
I'm going to call him Jurgen.
Bartsch. Whatever.
Yeah. For the rest of the episode, he's Jurgen.
Okay.
So Jurgen's mother had OCD and was fixated on cleanliness.
Oh.
So much to the point that he was not allowed to have friends or even go outside and play.
Because of the dirt.
Because of the dirt. He would get too dirty. And so one night, Gertrude told Jurgen, you're not getting yourself clean enough during bath times. So from that point on, she gave Jurgen a bath.
How did this start?
It started when he was about 5 or 6. It ended with his arrest at age 19.
Oh my gosh. All right.
So already
a lot of
some red flags flying.
whole lot.
Whole lot.
Whole lot.
At the age of 10, Jurgen started school, but his parents didn't feel that it was strict enough, so they moved him to a Catholic school. I have never been to a Catholic school, but I've heard stories of the nuns and the rulers, and I don't know that they're true because I never experienced them, but not long after changing over to the Catholic school, Jurgen was bedridden with a high fever.
Uh-oh.
And this is when the molestation by Father Peter Pute, the choir director of the church that this school was at, started.
Oh my gosh, this poor man. This poor boy. Already awkward with the mama washing you in places that the mama should not be. And then here comes a priest.
Doing priest things.
No, that was not priest things. That was carnal sin.
Yes, ma'am. The molestation continued over the next several years, not only by the priest, but by older students that included his cousin, taking advantage of him.
Okay. Of course, you can't say nothing.
Mm-mm. Not only was Gertrude bathing Jurgen on a nightly basis, but she was also physically abusing him, often leaving open scars and visible bruises.
Gosh. Don't understand why.
Now, I'm not sure how true this next part is because I only read it in one article. But also for up to 6 years, he was detained in an underground cellar. And in that article, he was quoted as saying that. So, like I said, that was the only article that mentioned it.
So he had to live in a cellar?
Yeah, at his parents' house.
Okay. Weirder by the minute?
Yes, ma'am. At the age of 8, so taking a little bit of a back road here, Jurgen was molested by his 13-year-old female cousin. So it wasn't just the males that was doing things to him.
My gosh.
So all of this compiled on top of each other. At the age of 15, Jurgen murdered his first of 4 victims.
His cousin.
No.
Okay.
His victims and ages are, his first one was Klaus Jung, Jung. He was only 8 years old. He was murdered on March 31st, 1962. Next we have Peter Fuchs. I don't know how to pronounce that. Don't want to
say it bad.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to mess up. Peter was 13 years old. He was murdered on August 6th, 1965, so he took a little 3-year break. Next, we have Ulrich Kohlweis. Kahlwiss. He was 12 years old, and just a week after Peter's murder on August 14th, 1965.
Okay.
And then we have his final victim, Manfred Grassmann, was 12 years old on May 6th, 1966. He did have a fifth victim, but that victim was able to escape before anything worse happened to him. So we'll get into him a little bit later.
Oof.
There were minor differences in each of the murders, but all pretty much followed the same pattern.
Okay. What is it?
Modus operandi.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. So he's known as the Carnival Killer because parishes would host these fairs.
Okay.
And they were known to attract homeless folks with and folks from lesser backgrounds. Jurgen was he wasn't like high class society, but his dad being the only butcher in town, they were okay. These um, fairs would offer free food, carnival rides, magic shows, and they wouldn't charge anything for them. Just
That's cool.
something to do for the community.
Yeah.
Great idea. Great concept. Maybe have a little security.
Yeah.
There around somewhere.
Yeah. Well, nowadays, for sure, you have to.
Right. Exactly. They would attract large crowds, and since they were either homeless or, from the lower side of town, easy prey.
Absolutely.
Jurgen would use his father's delivery van from the butcher shop to lure victims away. And so the idea was that he would use, there was a few miles outside of town, there was an abandoned mine that during World War II had been used as an air raid shelter. Hey, come on, let me go show you this cool thing. So he'd lure them in, take them there, and once they got there, he would beat them up, knock them unconscious. Oh, I was like, my notes are messed up. Another ploy that he would use is that he was an employee of an insurance agency, and they had a client who had a suitcase full of jewels stolen, and they had been located in this mine, but
he was too big.
Jurgen was too big, so hey, can you come get these for me, and we will pay you. So
sounds like a ploy somebody would use today.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh.
Now these ploys didn't always work.
Right.
He was quoted after he was arrested and being interviewed by cops. I could have had over 100 victims. So once inside the cave, like I said, Jurgen would start beating on the child. He used a hammer. Ugh. And would also strangle some of his victims to unconsciousness. He wasn't trying to kill them because in his mind, he wanted the torture to be what killed them, and he wanted to see them suffer.
Gosh, where did Did he start this early? He must have started with animals.
He was 15.
Yeah, but
when he started with humans. Yeah, I didn't see anything about with animals, but I would not be surprised.
I mean, that's what we're learning is like, it just starts early.
Yes, ma'am. Now, this part is pretty sick, but as the child would lay there hurting and suffering, Jurgen would attempt to masturbate over them, but was not able to finish the job.
Okay. Okay. Maybe it wasn't violent enough for him.
On his first 3 victims, we're going to learn, his last victim, Manfred, he suffered the worst. On the first 3 victims, he would actually, as they started coming to, instead of just grabbing his knife and doing the torture, he would start hitting them in the head with the hammer again, and then that killed them.
Oh my gosh. Sorry.
And so once dead, Jurgen would strip the clothes off of them, and then he started by decapitation on each body.
So he would take them apart.
He dismembered them. Then he would move to the arms and then the legs.
Okay.
And then he would empty the body cavity by cutting them open from chest to abdomen.
What's the purpose?
He saw his dad do it to animals, so he just wanted to do it.
Oh. Well, that's how he saw other people were animals.
Exactly.
It's not like he had a positive upbringing or friend group.
Too bad that he wasn't adopted by like a teacher or a social worker or
Somebody nice.
Somebody positive.
Yep.
It was then when he was disembowing the victims that he felt a little something.
Oh, he has to get deep and dirty before anything.
And he was able to reach climax.
Oh, man.
On 2 of the bodies, he attempted to anally penetrate them, but was unable to.
Okay. Was this after they were dead or before?
Yeah, after.
Oh, okay.
After. His goal, like I said earlier, was to slowly torture his victims to death.
I would have thought he would have tried that before.
Well, you'd think, and sadly for Manfred, he learned his lesson. He then, after climaxing, would go back to the decapitated head and pluck the eyeballs out.
Ew. He's just gross.
And then cut off the genitals.
Okay.
And with the remaining body parts, he dug a shallow grave and hid them.
But the other parts he just left out?
Yeah.
Just out and about in the mine?
Let animals eat them or whatever.
Ugh.
So on Manfred, the 4th victim, he basically achieved his goal of torture. He did knock him out, but he also, as he was unconscious, removed all his clothing.
Okay.
And then attempted again to penetrate the anus, but was unable to.
Okay.
So he thought, well, that's no use to me. So he cut strips of his anus and back of his legs off.
But he was still alive.
He's still alive for all this.
So did he tie them up so they couldn't move, or it's like, where are you gonna go?
Right. Yeah. I mean, they were like 5 miles outside of town.
Okay.
He basically, whatever he did to the first three victims post-mortem,
He did what?
he did to Manfred while he was alive.
That poor kid. Oh.
Like I said, he did have a fifth victim on June 18th, 1966. He sees, and one article said he was 11 years old. Another article said he was 15. Another article I read said he was a preteen, so between 11 to 15-year-old Peter Fries.
Okay.
He uses the story of the insurance agent. Kid gets into the van. They go to the mine, and Peter knocks him out with a hammer and then ties him up.
Jurgen knocks him out.
Jurgen knocks him out. Thank you.
Okay, because I was like, wait a second. So Jurgen gets the crap beat out of him. Huh? What's the odds of this happening?
Right. Jurgen knocks Peter out. Thank you.
You're welcome.
But he ties him up instead of staying and killing him because it was time for supper.
Oh, you got to get home.
You got to get home. You don't want to get beat.
Well, exactly.
So, and then after supper, it was TV time with Mom and Dad. So he was like, okay, I'll tie him up. I'll leave him here tonight. I'll come back tomorrow.
Okay.
Not only did Peter tie him up, not only did Jurgen tie up Peter, but he left a lit candle.
Oh my gosh. Jurgen was not thinking.
He was not thinking. So this is how Peter escaped. He comes to, realizes he's got his hands tied behind his back. He sees that candle. He gets his hands over to it until the ropes burn.
Well,
and he's able to free himself. Smart kid. So this was on June 18th. On June 22nd, so 4 days later, Jurgen is arrested for the attempted kidnapping of Peter, and attempted murder of him.
Okay.
Once arrested, he confesses to the other 4 murders.
Were they not looking for these kids?
No,
because they were all street kids, basically.
Basically, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nobody was looking for them. They were just like, phew, don't got to feed that mouth now.
Exactly. That's one less mouth to feed.
Okay. That's just entirely sad.
It is.
Okay. So he's arrested, and then he just confesses to it all.
Quickly confesses. On November 30th of that same year, 1966, he is sentenced to life in prison.
Okay.
He's like now 19 years old, and he's like, crap. So he unsuccessfully attempts suicide several occasions.
Oh my gosh.
In March of 1971, his sentence was reduced to 10 years in prison, and then would be moved to a psychiatric hospital for further evaluation.
Okay.
Sounds pretty positive.
It sounds at least not prison.
Exactly. So on November 15th, 1972, he is moved to, it was called the Residence. It was a psychiatric hospital in a town called Rotland, Rottland.
Okay.
It was near Ecclebourne. One of the nurses there, given first name of Gisela.
What was the name of this place?
The Residence.
Okay.
Was one of his nurses, and in 1974, the two get married.
Good Lord.
Well, there's somebody for everybody.
I'm guessing.
In April of 1976, he meets before the judges and some other folks and is giving the option of staying in the mental institution for life,
Okay.
being released but going to a court-ordered psychologist once a week for the rest of your life,
Okay.
or the third and most radical, surgical castration.
Okay. Huh.
So that is what Jurgen chose. He was like,
Castration?
I'm a married man. I want to get out, but I don't care to go see a psychologist anymore. So let's do the castration.
Yikes. Such an extreme.
Uh-huh. Well, you know, it says in the Bible, your arm offends you, cut it off.
Yikes. So, how would you pee?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Oh my gosh. This is disturbing.
The surgery took place on April 28th, 1976. That date sound familiar?
Yeah, he died.
At 29 years old, Jurgen dies during the procedure on the operating table.
What?
Autopsy revealed that died of halothane overdose, which was a general anesthetic. They gave him too much.
Couldn't wake up.
Could not wake up. And we'll end this like we do with every episode when we talk about one of these guys. There is a murder, a murder. There is a movie about Jurgen. Came out in 2004 called The Child I Never Was. And that is the story of Jurgen Bartsch. I tried to please any German fans. Don't hate me. I tried. The Carnival Killer. My bibliography this week: murderpedia.org, Jurgen Bartsch, gwern.net, which I believe, I'm not sure, is either a TV or radio station over in Germany. Under the article I read was just simply titled Jurgen Bartsch. Everand.com, Jurgen Bartsch, the Carnival Killer. And a website that I just found, but I think is quickly going to become one of my favorites, theywillkillyou.com.
Right.
The story of serial killer Jurgen Bartsch.
So no witnesses came, like, before he was 15? Like, this was just, like, totally out of the blue?
You know, I guess he was tired of mama bathing him and cousins molesting him and past preachers molesting him, and he just took his rage out on others.
Good God.
Saw what his dad did all those years, and
those skills, he was being taught to do that.
yes, ma'am.
Gross. So I wonder if they found any skeletal remains in the.
They did. They went and dug them up after he was arrested. He told them where he had buried them.
Did he tell them who they were?
I'm guessing that's how we know their names.
Oh, that's true. Okay.
The DNA wasn't a thing, so.
No. Or now people have found them. But if their family was like kind of
Were they really looking to begin with?
yeah. So it's hard to say.
Yes.
I'm curious about that side. Was there anybody looking for this child?
I'm going to look into that, and when we start recording again in June, I'll let you know.
Okay. Because, I mean,
that's sad.
It is. So apparently Peter told somebody. I'd like to know who did he go tell?
I like to think.
Like that there's 4 days in there. Like what's going on?
Right.
No, you didn't find anything about that?
No, ma'am. No. Not, nothing was ever really much said about Peter other than the way he was able to escape and stuff. So I like to think he saw a cop as soon as he got back into town.
Yeah. Something. Surely somebody lived between the 5 miles outside of town and the town that he could have
Knocked
got
on the
help
door.
for. Yeah. Because he was running because you didn't know if he was coming back or not.
Exactly. And at that point, who could you trust? Be like, well, how do I know he don't have helpers?
Well, exactly. So this is what we need to know.
All right, Teach, what was my grade for this week?
I'll give you a B.
Hey, that's better than C from last week.
Yeah,
I'm getting better.
stretching.
Grading me on a curve.
Yeah. Graded on a curve only because, I don't know, it's very weird. Like, that was all the information. That's just...
I'm just, as vile as he was, I'm surprised that he's not more noticeable and more known.
Yeah.
You know? There was those articles that I listed in my bibliography. Those were the only ones that I found on the internet about this story.
You would have thought that there would have been more, because maybe it's more of a town thing.
Maybe
and
so.
Not more widespread. Because people in town know the story and probably know more than what was ever repeated and written.
Mm-hmm.
So
that boy was strange from the word go.
Yes, right. That is right. Well, thank you. That was pretty cool.
You're welcome. Thank you. Was it gross and gooey enough?
Sorta.
Sorta.
Yeah.
Got to get sicker.
Huh.
Sicker than dismemberment.
Well, I just thought there would be a little bit more, like a detail or something. I don't know. I don't know what I was expecting. I mean, it was still good.
I thought it was a fitting end that after he dismembered his victims, that he dies by
being dismembered.
Being dismembered.
So I looked it up. Do you know how they castrate men? There's several ways. I mean, you can be chemically, which basically takes out your testosterone, so you're not
functioning.
Yeah. Otherwise, they could remove the testes. They can go in and just remove the part that produces testosterone. Yeah.
So they don't actually cut.
They don't cut all of it off, because that's what I'm like. You have to pee. Do they just leave a hole there? Like, there's something not right. So they just take the parts out that create the testosterone that will help produce those fuzzy feelings.
Gotcha. Well, that makes sense. Thank you for that.
Yeah. Of course, I could picture this as happening as they were making him into a steer, and little overbleeding happened.
Right. It could very easily happen.
It does. It did to several of ours.
They just gave him too much night medicine.
Yep. Oh well.
All right, classmates, we are going to take the month off. We will see you in June. And remember, we're terrible now, but we're working at getting horrible pretty quick. So hopefully by June we'll be horrible.
Is that supposed to be good?
Well, just terrible's down here, horrible's up here, so we're working hard. Just a little running joke.
Okay, because I'm like...
Yeah, we're terrible now, but we're really working hard on being horrible soon.
Okay. So we're going to work hard this May to really get our...
I'm going to practice on the bell.
Taking notes.
Working hard on notes, research. We're not like some of the big podcasts that have people that do research for them. This is Teach and I working our full-time jobs and doing the research in between. So, but we're working really hard on being horrible soon. So, we'll be back in June with new stories and new
True crime? New numbers. New bell.
I can't remember what we're going to come back with, but it'll be new.
It'll be new.
It'll be
I
new.
don't know either, so it'll be an adventure for sure.
And we will be keeping up with y'all on social media and stuff. If you have stories, email them to us. Hard Lessons with an S at the end of lessons.
I have to do it that way.
I know. No,
Okay.
I sometimes it doesn't sound like I say it right, so that's why I try to. Hard Lessons tcp.23@gmail.com. If you found out after your grandpa died that he was an axe murderer back in the 30s, write us that story. If you live in a house that's over 100 years old and is haunted by the original owner, write us that story. We're wanting to start a new segment called Show and Tell, where Teach is going to read your stories to y'all. And I'm going to give my reaction to them. So the gorier, the better. Gorier? The more gory.
I don't think that's right either.
Make it wild. All right. If you don't want your name written, please put that on there. And in the subject line of the email, put show and tell, and then whatever else you want to put to it. So
it would be nice to have some participation. We just keep talking to ourselves.
I know. We want to hear from you guys. All right. And with that,
class is dismissed.
I'm getting a little better.